All right, guys. So we are back for another episode. I haven't really announced it as Legacy Dialogues over the last couple of weeks, but if you've actually gone into the YouTube channel, gone into the web page that I drop to promote it, sometimes you'll see Legacy Dialogues. And why Legacy Dialogues? Legacy Dialogues, one, because the name of my company is Your Legacy Begins Now. So I really try to tie most of everything that I do around the thought process of designing, developing, building, adding to developing your legacy. So a lot of the individuals that I bring on, they have something that they are able to share that can help contribute to us building upon our legacy. So the gentleman before us today, he has a specialty and really understanding how to maximize your time, not only for the importance of business building, not only for the importance of being smart with your finances, but just for life in general. Individuals don't really understand that when you learn how to properly manage your time, it can benefit you in so many different ways. So, we're going to have a dialogue around that today. Now, I'm going to allow him to do the introduction as far as what he brings to the table. But, as we get ready to tune in, take notes. Don't just show up and say, "Yeah, I showed up. I heard you guys." Take notes. Take notes so you can actually apply some of the things that we're going to be sharing. So, without further ado, I bring to you D. Thomas Gambrell. How's it going, my guy?
Fantastic, man. How you doing? How's everything
Man,
in Mississippi?
everything is nice. It's nice. We had some rain today, so it's the first precipitation since we had snow last week. So, kind of interesting for this time of the year. How about up in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's cold. We haven't had any snow. I'm in New York, so we kind of
Yeah.
reversing weather for the winter. I see.
I see. I see that. Well, man, I really want to respect your time. No pun intended. I want to respect your time and also the time of those who are watching. I'm thankful for you to be willing to come and share your knowledge with my audience and whoever else tunes in. Because the information that you have to offer, a lot of time people discount the things that they come across that they didn't necessarily pay for. Not to say that what you have to offer doesn't, come with the price tag if people want a deeper version of it, but the information that you're about to share, I already know is going to be highly valuable. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, I want to let the audience know who is C. Thomas. Like, kind of give us a little bit of the backstory and what got you to where you are today and where you're going.
Well, I've been in the marketplace for I guess like the last 4 decades and in different capacities. Coming out of school, I majored in computer science and I took those credentials onto Wall Street, where I worked as a software engineer for about 7 years before I started my entrepreneurial journey. And I got started early in the deregulation of telecoms, doing marketing and soliciting services, in that particular sector. Myself and my partners had a lot of success over about a 7 year run, made, a significant amount of revenue, created tons of relationships across the globe, actually. And when I went to an event with Zig Ziglar before he passed away, my partner was on the committee to bring him to the convention. And when he indicated that they were paying him $125,000 to speak for 3 hours, and Zig Ziglar pulled up with a tractor trailer of product for $247, packages. And I estimated that he probably made about $1 million over that particular weekend. That's when I decided to become a professional speaker, trainer, and coach. At
Hmm.
that time, and at that time, I launched a seminar company back in 2001. So I've been coaching, training, speaking, consulting in the marketplace for different entities, universities, Fortune 500 businesses, top network marketing companies, small business owners. So pretty much run the gamut, even with some not-for-profit exposure as well. So I've been, providing that value from the standpoint of getting things done, getting the right things done, in less time, just to put it in a capsule.
Nice, nice. Man, I didn't realize there was so much overlap and the work that we did. Um, I look back to 2013, 2014. I was working for a nonprofit, a foster parents. I was a foster parent support specialist for a what's the terminology we like to use? Anyways, we recruited foster parents. We had child placement agency. We had adoptions unit. We had the unaccompanied alien child unit. We had all these different units, but one of my primary tasks was to go out and speak at these mega churches across South Florida to recruit foster parents. And I internalized the importance of the work that we did and the need for foster parents. So when I got on the stage and spoke about it, it just flowed.
Right.
And I remember this, I want to say it was like the second event that I did because it was probably between 700,000 people in the audience. And I got off stage, and a lot of my coworkers were like, "Oh my goodness, Brian, that was amazing. Everybody's talking about you." And when we got back to the office, like, "Brian, you should try to be a motivational speaker." And I'm like, "What is that even? Like, I ain't worried about all that." So I did a little research, and I came across like the Eric Thomases, the Les Browns. Like, hold up now, they make how much to do what? They just talking about what they live and what, like, seriously. So that's when I started to say, you know what, I'm just gonna speak. I'm just gonna talk. So I would just pull up my camera and just start talking for the
Gotcha.
longest. And it started getting me engagements, getting me booked. And slowly but surely I became a decently sought after speaker in the local area. And then after that, started to kind of branch off, like you mentioned, to certain nonprofits, universities, some of these direct sales companies, MLM companies, so on and so forth. But it all came back to a core element of what I brought to the table. So, what would you say, as we continue to kind of navigate the journey, what was the unique value proposition of C. Thomas? Like, why would people want to book you to come in and speak as opposed to the next man?
Well, one of the things that I've found, and this is just from feedback from people that I've trained and presented before, is that I can take a very complex concept and break it down into components that people can understand and digest. And not only that, in taking information is not only about the idea of information exchange and knowledge transfer. It's about how is it applied. So the idea is to be able to get information and then be able to use it immediately. And a lot of
Hmm.
my programs and training are really designed around that idea of you can earn while you learn. You can also apply information. As long as you are a chapter ahead of the person that you're leading, you're going to be okay. So you can actually teach, information as you're learning it. So helping people understand that this idea of guru or expert or is just someone that has more information than you and has hopefully had opportunity to apply it, not just theory. So my information is practical, practical information. Forget about all of the hype, forget about all of the sales pitches, trying to get people to spend money. Like, what's the real deal? What's going to be the real impact of someone coming and say, like, example, like the network marketing industry? You hear people talking about, I'm a millionaire maker and I do X, Y, and Z. But you know what? The average person just wants to make an extra $500 to $1,500 a month. Like, so how can you get that person to the base, in the quickest amount of time? And then when they get to that $1,500 a month, they can make a decision whether or not they want to go for 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. So it's not, because only a certain percentage of people in a company, less than 1% of a person in any network marketing company is going to make over seven figures. So, what
Hmm.
about the other 99.99%, of individuals? So that's basically, what we speak to is, that idea of getting someone started, getting them on the path. And that's why the name, I named my company Prep to Own, like preparation for ownership.
Mm.
at that starting point and giving people a very strong foundation that they can build on, and they can decide whether they want to be a hundred there, 1,000 there, or a millionaire, from there.
So it's something you mentioned, and it resonates highly with me. It kind of goes over some people's head. When it comes to the speaking space, lots of people, these gurus, self-proclaimed gurus, they bring a lot of hype, and it's one of the reasons why I try to step back from people calling me a motivational speaker. Is motivation can get you all up in your feelings, can get you feeling a certain
Right.
way, energized, right then and there in the moment. But it takes principles. It takes more than just the theoretical you can do X, Y, and Z. It takes the actual practice of implementation to see results. So what got you to understanding, okay, I got to be more than just telling them what could be, and telling them if they do X, Y, and Z, what will be?
Well, in the industry, when I was actually actively building the network marketing business between 1994 and 2001, I saw a lot of people get hurt, by, pie in the sky kind of presentations. People are quitting their jobs too early. They're jeopardizing relationships, because someone is kind of leading them down a path that was only serving that person,
Hmm.
that was leading, that process. So as I began to come into leadership, I made a commitment to myself that I was only going to tell the truth and allow people to build, on a foundation that was very strong, right? Because you shouldn't be leaving your job unless you got a 12 months stacked away, and your income is increasing, over a 6 month time frame, not just one big month. Within, with regard to building your business, right? And you have to be able to replace the income that you're currently, earning. That was my advice to people, right? So, 95% of the people in that particular industry are doing it on a part-time, spare time basis anyway. Not a large amount of people are doing it as full-time, network marketers. So, helping people understand the reality, of a situation, even with a small business owner, most of them lack business acumen. They have a maybe a technical skill, but they don't understand that just because you could bake a cake doesn't mean that you should start a bakery, because
Right.
running a bakery is much more than just baking a cake.
Hmm.
Somebody has to open up. You have counting, you have inventory, you have marketing. You have so many aspects of running a business, and most business owners, actually fail not because of lack of capital. Most business owners fail because of lack of information and business acumen, and that's a fact. So being prepared for ownership is more than just having the money to do it, more than just having the knowledge, from a technical standpoint. But you have to understand really all of the business systems that are involved in lead generation, client conversion, client fulfillment, referral systems, and then the technology that you're going to need in order to put all of that, into the marketplace, to make a profitable business. And not only that, you need energy, so you need to be healthy. You also, need to be in a position where you have some level of grounding, or you're going to burn out. So there are different
Hmm.
aspects of running a business that most people don't really, count. They don't count the total cost of, being a entrepreneur or a business owner, or even understand what those words mean.
Yeah, that's so true. Lots of people see a side hustle that they attach themselves to simply to either refer a product or service. They call themselves an entrepreneur. No, you're not an entrepreneur. You're not a business owner. You're an affiliate of, you're a referrer to,
Right.
but you don't understand what it takes to run a business. Now, this goes to the whole time management and life management talking point. Whereas lots of people will get into the entrepreneurship space or whatever they are saying is entrepreneurship through their perspective, they get into that space and they start to neglect certain things in life, or they don't focus in for long enough on what they're building to really understand what it takes to get there. So like, what what are some of your talking points when it comes to helping individuals understand how to properly manage running a business, manage their time, manage their energy, the things that go into it? How do you kind of go into that conversation with individuals?
Well, kind of starting at the beginning, my favorite book, has some literature in it. And there's a quote that says, knowledge, is the principal thing with all that I get understanding, right?
Mhm.
So we start with the idea of understanding exactly what time is. Most people don't know what time is or even have an understanding of the concept of time. If you ask a person, if you have a room of 100 people and you ask them what is time, you're probably going to get 101 different answers
That's true.
as it relates to exactly what it is. So when I'm coaching my clients or leading a seminar or workshop, we start with that idea of like exactly what time is. And there have been tons of answers to that question, but the best answer that I've gotten in actually a teleseminar, a gentleman said that time is actually a mental construct, right? And that was very interesting, to me as he made that determination, because as I worked them through the idea of what is time and how do you deal with it as it relates to your life, it actually comes back to the idea of really managing your mind, right? Because if I ask anyone that's listening to this recording or live right now, and or even you, if I ask you like where does the past exist, what would your answer be, right?
Only up here.
Right, your past is memories, like, and where's your future, where does your future exist?
Only up here.
Is in your mind, right? Because it's the imagination, right? It's
Hmm.
your picture that you're painting for the future. And now this is where most miss it. This idea of the present, right? The present is fleeting, right? I'm about to say
Ever
something. You
changing.
don't know what I'm about to say. I just said it. So it went from your future to your present to your past, right? It
Hmm.
went from my mind to reality to your mind. And now it is basically existing in both of our minds, right? So when you're thinking about the idea of time management, you really need to be focusing on mind management, managing your thoughts, because your thoughts are going to lead you down different roads, based on what you're thinking. And a lot of time people are actually focusing on the wrong things because their mind has convinced them that that's the thing that they need to be focusing on. They have the ladder up against the wrong wall, so even though they're climbing to the top of that wall, they are not getting to the destination that they actually want to be at. And it all basically goes back to your time, right? Because basically time has been managed for you. There's a minute, there's a second, there's an hour, there's a day, there's a month, right? The seasons have been organized. So all of those things, you don't have to manage that, right? It's like, what are your thoughts as it relates to what you should be doing in a particular place? And it's all relative because, again, right now for me it's 4:55, for you it's 3:55, and then there are 22 other time zones on the planet. So is time something that is really concrete? Is it really concrete if there are
Mm-mm.
24 basically designations of the time, and it's already Tuesday in China, right?
Right.
So you have to really understand that your watch and your calendar are really business tools. I need to get a shipment here on this particular day at this particular time. I need to have a meeting this time. This, my store opens at this time, it closes at this time. So you don't really have to manage those things. You have to really think about how you're using your time.
Yeah, and that's huge, and I'm sure many people haven't heard it, spelled out that way before. It kind of goes to how lots of times when I'm coaching people who have this perpetual cycle of saying that they're going to do something in the future, they're going to do something tomorrow, or we'll do that tomorrow. Well, if you think about it, tomorrow actually never gets here. And
Never.
if you continue to feed your mind that it will happen tomorrow, your mind is going to always see it being something that will happen in the future, but nothing that is actually going to happen. So understanding that the current is the only present, and I just said current, that's no longer the current. I just said
Right.
it, like you said, it's ever evolving. Time is ever evolving. So taking advantage of the moment is so important, and then understanding, okay, based off of the management of my mind and the activities that I'm doing with what I have at my hand right now, that's going to develop what my future will be. But it's all about the here and now. And it's one of the reasons why you have so many people that um, they look at what someone can accomplish in one day to be insanely, a huge feat, and then the next person can't even accomplish that in a full month. It's all about you managing in your mind what needs to be optimized right here and now, and then taking advantage of it. It's time is relevant to how we manage it in our mind. So kind of speaking to time management, life management, I've got a 17-year-old son that's about to go to that next stage in life, to college. So I know you mentioned that you've done work with universities as well, and so have I. And I know one of the things that usually throws people when I speak in a university setting, or even in a high school setting for those who are about to transition to university, they automatically have an assumption based off of the multiple degrees that I have, that I'm going to speak in a certain direction, tell these kids they need to go a certain direction in life. So before I go too deep into that, kind of what is the work that you do in the academic space, in the university space, and how does that align with time management, life management, so on and so forth?
So one of the streams that we talk about, within the company is financial literacy. So one of the things, in addition to managing their time, because a lot of students, as they're coming on campus, it's the first time that they are in total control of their schedule, with regard to not having someone else, tell them what to do, where to be, and when they need to be there. Outside of them scheduling their classes, but then they still have to manage, their social time, their study time, um, you know, recreation, or whatever the case might be. So we talk about financial literacy, managing their funds, and then also we talk about, time management, relating to them, coming from a very structured environment, at home, to one that they actually have to manage now, on their own. Are you going to get up and go to class, or are you going to sleep in, right? Because they don't care, because you already paid for your tuition, right?
Right.
So, whether you show up and go to class or not is on you. Whether you make the grade or not, is totally on you. So that's a transition for, some students that haven't been exposed. And I was in that category. I was, in my yearbook, my math teacher, I had her for 3 years in a row, first period. And in my yearbook, she wrote, "Be on time for graduation," because I was late to her class every day, and it was unexcusable, right? It was ridiculous. And that tell you my relationship with time, as a 17, 18-year-old. So those kids coming onto campus, giving them that foundation, during orientation period or early on, is always beneficial. And then also, helping them to, manage the funds that they have access to from the student, financial aid, scholarships, or whatever grants, whatever they might have, in addition to whatever their parents might be, sharing with them. So those are some of the workshops that we have done on college campuses.
Nice, nice, man. And it's sad that it's usually hindsight is 2020. Like we can tell them now, and it's only after they look back and say, "Dang, I done fell in this hole. If only I would have listened at that prep to if only I would have listened." So I think back to myself, because I always aimed to pay attention, to what those who came before me, would try to pour into me. But I was one of those, my freshman, sophomore year of college, or freshman year really, and then sophomore year was kind of digging myself out. Time management. I was a student athlete from the age of 4 years old until I finished high school. So when I got to college, I was just a student. And the word student by itself didn't make no sense to me. So I was in the rec center playing basketball and working out more time than I was actually in school and studying. So that GPA coming out of high school is almost a 4.0, dropped all the way down to a 1.76.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they gave me the boot because I wasn't properly managing my time.
Right.
And I had the parents in high school that after the football game, Brian, you go get something to eat and you bring your butt home. Like they were on me about being where I needed to be, when I needed to be there. And it just kind of it was easier because the structure was already there laid out for me, whereas I had to structure it myself when it came to
Right.
college. Then when it comes to the finances, I was taking out as many loans as I could, everything that I could qualify for, and spending it up, not thinking twice about it. I didn't get my first credit card until after I finished undergrad, but even then, I wasn't financially literate. So I saw, okay, my max is this amount. I'm about to use it all up. Not thinking about, well, I don't have the income to be able to pay this back in no type of reasonable time.
Right.
So those services are so critical when it comes to teaching that specific age group. Now,
No
a
doubt.
lot of the things that I pour into that age group, I come right back around and I'll pour into when I go and speak at a foundation or an organization or go and speak to a corporation. A lot of those principles, they never leave you. They're principles for a reason. It's not just I'm going to make you feel good about the stage of life that you're in and hopefully this can help you with this stage. No, I'm going to plant some seeds that I'm hoping to grow like real quick, and you can carry those with you along life.
Right.
So speak a little bit to what some of your work is when it comes to working with corporations and some of the people in the nonprofit space.
Well, as I think I might have mentioned that my background is technology coming out of
Hmm.
school. So a lot of times when I'm working with not for profits, I'm talking to them about business systems and, being able to help them with streamlining manual processes and automating, those things. That was basically my specialty coming out of college with regard to working, on Wall Street, where I was taking manual processes and automating them for accountants, as well as the traders and operations desks, in the companies that I was working at. So in working with the not-for-profits, a lot of times they are behind the curve as it relates to technology. I went into one shop in like 2019, and they were still using Windows 7. And I could not, I had forgot how to use Windows 7.
Yeah.
And that's how old that was. And it was not even under, support, at that point. And then having them jump from Windows 7 to 10, was a training process because it was totally different, from that perspective. So in working in those environments, a lot of time it's really about business systems, automating, and then helping them save time, in that fashion as relates to now they're doing the right things, and getting it done, in less time.
Nice. Now, this is going to kind of take us a little bit left field, but I feel it's super important in today's day, particularly with the new presidential administration being in office as it pertains to the nonprofit space. So, as we know, many of these organizations depend on federal and state funding to be able to run a lot of their services and programming. Now, with you being someone that's worked on Wall Street, that has worked in the financial space, understanding business, and then having these conversations with these nonprofit organizations, what is something that you would say today? And I say today, I mean 2025, moving forward, at least throughout the next 2 to 4 years, are some primary things they really need to keep in mind as it pertains to not allowing their programs and services to dry up based off of potential lack in funding with the new administration.
Yeah, so along those lines, not-for-profits most of the time just have to recognize that they, in some instances, they have to be more entrepreneurial, in the sense of generating their own revenue streams, in ways that can impact the community, but also serve the organization or whatever constituency that they're serving. Because at some point, you have to, what one of my mentors, he said, we eat what we kill around here. Right. So you have to be in a position where you have to, I hate to use the cliche, thinking outside of the box, but it's more so really just thinking about different ways to generate revenue, that doesn't, violate, your bylaws and your organizational, articles of incorporation and things like that, or depending on what, arena you're serving. Because there are opportunities out here, to generate, revenue, outside of just having someone give you a grant or, a donation. And it's just a matter of, I think, thinking more entrepreneurial, along those lines of that. Just because you're a not-for-profit doesn't mean that you can't make a profit. You think about organizations like the United Way, they're not suffering for money at all. Right?
Right.
Or the Ford Foundation. These are large organizations that are, not-for-profits. And even understand, believe it or not, the NFL is a not-for-profit. And you see how much money they're generating, right? So you have to be in a position where you are thinking about, ways to generate the revenue outside of those donations, and there are opportunities out there.
Thank you, and I appreciate you sharing that insight. Yeah, I've been operating in the social entrepreneurship space, researching, presenting, really understanding the space more and more since 2015. And it's one of the things that I speak to lots of nonprofit executive directors, presidents of organizations, understanding the necessity of diversifying your revenue streams to serve your clients, because there's nothing worse than hearing certain population that you used to serve, you're no longer able to serve them anymore, and they fell on even harder times because you can't be there for them anymore. And had you been able to diversify your revenue streams to continue those services, that may not be the issue. So I just really wanted you to speak to that because you being from the Northeast, different from me being here in the South, you understand the necessity of that as well. So so yeah, man. So kind of tell me a little bit more about some of the projects that you're currently working on. What are some of the areas that you're currently working in, and while thinking about that, how has the advancement in technology either contributed to you being able to be effective in your space or hindered you from being able to serve the way you used to?
Well, after I guess during the pandemic, we took that time to kind of retool a little bit since the world was kind of at a standstill. The prep to own concept is, helping people prepare for the ownership of businesses, homes, real estate, and digital assets. So I took that time to get my real estate license, during that 2020 21 time frame, so that I could actually help people specifically with the idea of home ownership, going from renting to owning, or using capital to basically create the multifamily income streams, as far as that those particular properties. So we have basically put together a very comprehensive program that we're actually launching in May of this year. And it's going to be still under the Prep to Own banner. But much like you, we're basically looking to the idea of legacy, this idea of being able to create legacy. So we're going to be launching the Prep to Own Legacy Network, and we're going to be putting all of our brands underneath that, and also creating partnerships. An idea is to educate, empower, and equip individuals with tools, knowledge, and support necessary to prepare for ownership, build wealth, and leave a lasting legacy. And it's grounded in the principle of noce prote, which is Latin for know for yourself. You can see I got a little branding going on there.
Okay.
And and the mission is to cultivate self-awareness and confidence, enable members to unlock their potential, take strategic action, and to achieve financial independence. And we're doing that through program development, memberships and subscriptions. And we're also developing some technology. You talked about this technology, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly we're incorporating artificial intelligence and automation integration, into assisting business owners, network marketers, real estate agents, and also working with individuals in the health and wellness arena with software that we are white labeling, and that's going to be called AI Power 24/7. And it basically is going to help business owners streamline their business systems from lead generation to sales to follow up to fulfilling the marketing message that they promise to their clients. Even incorporating referral systems, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of automation and AI involved in that. And we also have programmed uh, AI employees that people can also, pay for. That's going to give them a cost savings against any virtual assistants that they might be having to hire to execute different functions, within the business. So we want to be able to
Nice.
help not only with the education and the learning part, but also providing tools for the individuals to use in order to achieve their goals.
I love that because it's easy to give a man a fish, and I was about to go in a different direction, but just keep it as cliche as you want. It's easy to give a man a fish and say, "Look, this is what you do. This is how you do it." But to give them the tools to learn how to actually implement it is so much more important. With a lot of the services that I currently have to offer, I have a segment of the tool that I offer for free initially. Hey, take this, go do your thing. But if you really want to expedite the process, let me coach you through the process. We're going to use this tool, and then I'm going to let you keep this tool. So when we're no longer in this coach client relationship, you can refer back to it and remember how I walked you through those steps. So it's so
Right.
important to have those tools. Now, speaking of tools, speaking of legacy, we as as parents, as grandparents, as someone that has nieces and nephews around us, that we're not wanting our work to end with what we did while we were here. We always should be in the mindset of creating legacy in one way or another. So when it comes to creating legacy, like, at what stage, first off, kind of, where was your foundation? Because I know with me, my parents, everybody that came before me was blue collar, working in the industrial field, industrial construction, and I was one of the first to actually navigate away from that space. So to a certain degree, I'm creating a legacy that is completely different than what my predecessors, so to say, were known for. So, like, where did your start begin? Did your parents have similar background as what you're doing, and how you're using what foundation you started with to build a whole new foundation for that next generation around you?
Yeah, so my parents, they came out of the South, Tampa, Florida. They're both from Tampa, and I spent a lot of my youth in Tampa. 8 out of the first 12 years on the planet, I was living in Tampa, Florida, with my grandmother. So my mother went to school for to be a bacteriologist. She had an associate's. But I was, one of the first people in my generation to actually attend college, and Ivy League college at that. So the thought of being able to create a different legacy kind of was drilled into me, from the idea that my parents, said that, you need to go to school, and you can do whatever you want to do, be what you want to be. And, that each generation should, pull, the next generation forward. So we've laid this particular foundation for you, but now it's time for you, to take it to the next level. And I know, I made a promise to my grandmother that I would do whatever I could do in order to raise the socioeconomic status of, the family, as a whole, by not just becoming successful myself, but also, helping, those that were around me, in the family that wanted to take on that particular mantle, and, had some success with that. But more so looking toward my heirs, my two daughters and my son, with regard to just sharing different information with them, about this idea of legacy and generational wealth. I actually just had a weekend with them. I took them away, and we had some time to kind of spend together. They're 23, 20, and 9 and 17, respectively. So I started, or just not started, but continued the conversation about, you know, being able to create a trust for them,
Mhm.
and making sure that there was insurance attached to that, and helping them understand that, there will be money, much more money than you have now, on my demise. So I will be leaving businesses, as well as insurance, that will put you in a better position than, the $800 that, my parents sent me to college with, from that perspective. So you have to be, plant the seeds. They'll continue to be watered, but, as those individuals that are around you, as far as your children, your nieces, nephews, as they get older, they have to really, begin to understand that this is a mantle that they need to take on, in order for it to continue and grow, into a true legacy and generational wealth.
Yeah, and that's so important, like having that conversation with them, because it's one thing to pass on businesses, you know, money, wealth. It's one thing to pass it on, but it's another thing, a complete other thing, for them to know what to do with it, not to just allow it to just disappear.
Right,
There's this saying, and I forget the exact wording, but I you probably heard it as well. A good man makes for easy times, and easy times develop weak men, and weak men develop hard times, and hard times build strong men, and like it's like a cycle where the
right,
you have to, if you don't properly place, or from one level to another, bring down the information of how to maintain, you can put them in a position to just wipe out everything, and then the next generation is going to have to figure it out by themselves. So I'm glad that you
right,
mentioned, the trust and the life insurance. Whereas I had a guest on one of my last episodes where he is a life insurance agent, and we focused on, for one, the actual life component of life insurance, but even with the death benefits, helping that next generation understand how to properly utilize it, but even beforehand, putting together that trust and helping them understand the whole Rockefeller philosophy of this money is going to go into the trust, and the trust is going to distribute it out to certain parties at certain milestones, so on and so forth, so that it's not completely depleted because it's given to an individual
right.
that doesn't know how to manage it. And I mean, it's the topic of the day, just management, period. So whether it be your time, whether it be various aspects of your life, be your mindset, your money, when you properly understand how to manage that which you have, you can learn how to, to optimize it, to extend it, to allow it to give back to you. Whereas when you just
No
allow
doubt.
the world to hear this is what you get, and you just accept it as is, and you don't really just really think about what you have before you, time is going to fly by. you're not going to have accomplished much of anything to be happy about, at least, and you're not going to be able to present anything for that next generation to take and actually build upon. So as we get ready to kind of wind down, what I know you're, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be down at the Wealth Explosion in March, right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, and this is kind of kind of off topic, but on topic at the same time. Going to events like the Wealth Explosion, and for those who are like, "What's the Wealth Explosion?" Feel free to reach out afterwards, drop a comment, and I'll get back to you. But going to events like that, there's a purpose. There's a purpose to take information and to apply it, and then to see results, and then if things go in accordance to what you say you want to accomplish, if you properly apply that which you received from this event, you should come back the next year with an increase in that which you had before. So coming into or going into the Wealth Explosion, what are some things that you're looking to come take and actually grow moving out throughout the rest of this year?
Well, I know that the key to really scaling, any type of enterprise or endeavor is being able to build a team. And that's why I reached out for this collaboration with you. And then the idea at the Wealth Explosion is to really be able to meet some individuals that I can link up with, that we can find synergy and work toward our goals together. Because there's only a certain level that you can get as a solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And I've pretty much been operating, as a solopreneur, in the sense that I've been coaching and training and speaking and consulting. I don't really need a big team in order to do those things, but we're adding a couple of different layers to our business model. So now it's going to, take a team of individuals, and especially if we're talking about scaling to nine figures, with exit strategy of selling, the software that we're developing, as an exit strategy. That's something that I can't do alone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the Wealth Explosion, based on, I know the things that you've been doing, as well as Chris Holder. I think it's an environment that is very fertile. It's a nurturing environment. Everyone cares about the other person's success. And you always want to just be in business with people that are real and that are genuine, and that you can look to your left and right and know that you're going to have the support, there. Because I've had a couple of partnerships that didn't work out. And then, when you get into the business with wrong people, that can create setbacks and unfortunate situations. So I think that the team and the community, with regard to the $100 million run and what you guys have been able to put in place, is the right place to be, to take it to the next level and scale.
Yeah, and that's so important. I'm in direct alignment with you when it comes to, as a consultant, a coach, a speaker. We don't necessarily need a huge team. We can use some virtual assistants here, a little small joint venture there. But when it comes to putting something in place that's really scalable, you need that team. And, I had been operating as a solopreneur for the longest. I partnered with Chris on a couple different companies, but even through my own brand, like I'm really wanting to scale it even more, because we have to understand, there's all these cliche sayings out here, but they're real. Oftentimes it's better to be 1% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape, because like you do less work, but you expose yourself to so much more potential when you're that 1%. But when you're doing everything by yourself, there's only so much time that you can give to every task, and you're diluting the efficiency when you're giving yourself to so many different areas, so many different tasks. So yeah, man. For those who will be there, and for those, and this is not even just to plug the Wealth Explosion, any type of event that you go to, you should always, and not even event, just being out and about, period. If you're a business person at any capacity, you should always be aiming to find someone that is in the similar lane, but that are doing better than you. And figuring out how can I glean from that individual. Not to say that this person is more valuable than me, but in some of the areas where may have gaps, that person is flawless. So I'm going to use my skill set, partner with them, allow them to kind of help fill some of those gaps. And that's going to allow my business to grow so much quicker than me sitting here trying to figure out how to do this all by myself. So when you partner up, partner with those that can add value. Don't partner with someone who you're having to drag along and it's causing you to slow down. So with
Right.
that being said, man, what are some things that you have coming up? What are some things that people can potentially reach out and partner with you on? You know, kind of speak some of that out so we can drop it into the comments and make sure that we get more people's eyeballs on what you're building.
Yeah, so we started a virtual speed networking. We had our first one this month on the 21st. So we'll be doing them the third Tuesday of every month, and is a nationwide initiative. We had people on from a couple of different states on our first call, and it's a very, very, I think, fruitful hour and a half that you can use without leaving the home, but also being able to meet people and network and talk about your business. And it's structured such that there are basically three mini training modules, three different topics, and then there are three breakouts for you to be able to network with people in a smaller group. So those events are being co-sponsored with me by the Network for Women in Business and the Master Key LLC, along with Prep to Own Legacy Network. We're going to be doing those, and then, as I mentioned, in May we're going to be launching the network officially, as well as the AI Power 24/7 software to assist business owners, realtors, network marketers, and health and wellness advocates, with regard to building their businesses and, with a done for you type software.
Got it, got it, got it. So tell me real quick so I can add it to the screen. Where would one go to get more information about this speed networking?
The wait list is open with regard to information of the up and coming releases. It's PTO Legacy Network.com, and that's PTOLegacyNetwork.com. You can get on the wait list. We have a couple of little, I guess, goodies for you as you sign up for the wait list. Information about the speed networking will be available. We're also offering a no fee 5-part e-coaching program, as well as you get founding member status with early access to the platform, which will probably be about 4 to 6 weeks before the official launch.
Got it, got it, got it. All right. Well, I'm going to drop this information also in the comment section and the description on the YouTube stream. Because yeah, man, that's because I saw you you had the camera set off to the side when you were introducing yourself on one of those, I'm assuming. And I'm like,
Yes.
what C Thomas got going on over here? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I wanted
nice
people to get
because
a little taste of it, and to
yeah,
use that for promoting and marketing. We got quite a bit of views on those little clips, so
nice.
it worked.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, on that note, man, I appreciate your time. We are definitely going to have some further conversation on how we can work together at one
Yes, sir.
capacity to another. Because obviously, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of overlap in the work that we do.
No doubt.
You got a couple years more experience than
A
me,
little bit.
but and I'm really big on taking my professor hat off and putting that student hat on. Um, and that's just so important. And I aim to pour that to anybody who's listening. Don't ever feel like you've made it. Don't ever feel like you're the one that knows it all, because as soon as you feel like that, somebody gonna zoom by you So always be learning, always be willing to have someone that can pour into you, because that's the only way you can keep growing. So
No doubt,
off
no
that
doubt.
note, C. Thomas, I'm gonna put you in the background or in the backstage. I'm gonna close out with the audience.
Before you
Yeah, for
go, just
sure.
real quick, I appreciate you, man. I see what you're doing out here in these internet streets. You have been an inspiration, to me with regard to consistency and just being present. And I appreciate what you bring to the marketplace with your frankness and your no nonsense attitude. And that's really what people need. They don't think they need it, but they actually need it, and you're providing that.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you, and I look forward to making some impact in the marketplace along with you.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And I appreciate those words. It's one of those things where you know how certain people do things for recognition, but then certain people do things for impact.
Right.
I do it for the impact, but when you stay so focused on doing it for the impact and you all of a sudden get the recognition, damn, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So yeah, man. But we'll definitely be doing some things together. I appreciate your time, and I'll have to have you back on.
Yes, sir.
Sometime
Look forward
later,
to it.
just to dive a little bit deeper. Probably have you like a little reflection after the wealth explosion or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
For sure. All right,
Definitely.
man. Well, you hang out backstage, and I'll come back and close out with you as soon as I close out with the audience.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right. All right, guys. So that's another one in the books. That was C. Thomas Gambrell. I met him through my business partner, mentor, Chris Holder. And just from the jump, I'm like, this is a solid guy. He always just the posture that he walked around with wasn't one like to try to draw in unnecessary attention. And I just like the way that he carried himself. And it's one of the things that you'll learn about me. I don't work with a whole lot of people. There's not a lot of people that I just resonate with and I want to do business with you. You got to carry yourself a certain way. So you take that into consideration as well. Are you the type of person that can attract people to you that you can actually build something successful, something sustainable with? If you're not, what are you waiting on to become that person? If you don't know how to become that person, reach out. For years, ever since I got my first, my second degree, university degree in psychology back in 2012, then I got my master's degree. I've always aimed to help individuals find out, okay, this is my behavior that led me to where I am today. Let me help you modify, change, and incorporate something new to develop the behavior that's going to get you to where you want to go to. So with that being said, we're out. We'll be back on Thursday. We got two sessions on Thursday. And until then, y'all stay well. Depending on where you at in the world, stay warm or stay cool because this weather is crazy. Much love, guys.